Another issue that I want to address is the stimulus. It's been stalled, and this week, lawmakers squashed any hopes of a stimulus agreement before Election Day. Kerwin, as deals are being made and not made, how is the uncertainty affecting people in your community?
The uncertainty affecting people in my community is immediate. Individuals are definitely suffering from the economic pushback from COVID-19 and the effects and the ramifications from COVID-19. So for politics to be played with a stimulus check while individuals are literally counting every dime they have and try to make it to the next pay period, I believe it is extremely unprofessional. Where's the bipartisanship? Where's the cooperation when it comes to serve the individuals who you are in position to serve, who elected you in those positions, in those capacities, whether Democrat or Republican? And so individuals in my community, we're having to fill in the gap for individuals who might do not have enough food to make it through the rest of the month, the last 10 days of the month. And so we're trying to fill that gap in as community members, but it is up to the legislators to really do bipartisanship and do the citizens that they serve justice.
Well, Mark, let me pull you in here because this is an economic issue, and one of the arguments had been, well, we don't want to agree on too large of a stimulus because people will be disincentivized to go into work. What are some of the pitfalls of too large a stimulus, and kind of what's a good fit? What's it supposed to be doing?
Right. So there's a couple of things here. So some of the earlier stimulus money, unfortunately, went into the hands of folks that didn't necessarily need it. And so part of the problem is we're in the situation now where trillions of dollars have been spent, but all of it hasn't been spent in a way that's actually getting into the communities, into the people, into the small businesses that it was intended to. So there are legitimate concerns just in terms of the total dollar amount of money that's going out. That being said, we're still in the middle of a crisis that is not the fault of people who are suffering. And the responsibility of any government is to the people. And I think really, if we want to make sure that people have a roof over their head, people who have not done nothing wrong, right, then we need to do something. And I'm hopeful that, after the election, something can happen. But yeah, we just have to see how it goes.
Well, no doubt there are a lot of people out there who are having difficulty putting food on the table. Danielle, how have you responded? What was your reaction to the stalling of an agreement here?
Well, I will definitely say, and to the gentleman before me who spoke, to his credit, there was a lot of money that was put out there, and it didn't necessarily, I wouldn't say make sense. It didn't have the impact that it should have had. With it being kind of used responsibly. That's the way I'm going to word that. But I will say this, the most important things about stimulus and having people who need things, having access to things, I think, finding ways to reopen the state safely so that people who have small business, there were a lot of people that were impacted that had small businesses that didn't necessarily qualify for stimulus in the first place. I think that that's a part of this that people don't realize. If you were a small business owner, you may have not gotten a stimulus at all for the amount of people, let's say, in your household. So I think the fact that it's something that's got to be tabled till after the election, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think we need a better comprehensive plan for reopening, making sure people have a roof on their heads, making sure people are able to, take care of themselves and their families. I think it's not the worst thing in the world to kind of treat that responsibly and handle that after the election. And that's what will truly keep politics out of it. So it's something that makes sense.
Thank you, Danielle. And Tim, let me just go to you as you're doing as you're covering this issue and others around the region. What are you seeing in terms of how desperate the need is for this stimulus money?
Deborah, the desperation is real. I just did a story this week where the mayor of Durham said that the 60 food banks in the city are facing shortages. So I went to a local church that has a food bank, and he told me that before the pandemic, he was helping 100 families. Now he's helping 500 families, struggling to try to find food for those 500 families, even having to turn some families away. So the need is great. there needs to be some type of a deal reached to help these families who are struggling.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope that the help comes sooner than later. I wanted to also ask a question about people who are suffering health-wise due to COVID. I mean, everybody is impacted by what's happening around COVID-19 in some capacity. Let me ask you, Kerwin, with so many people suffering as the COVID cases surge, where do you see politics kind of fitting into the whole question of stimulus, of the healthcare plan, even extending to Medicaid expansion?
Politics is playing a sheer and a frontline role in the suffering of individuals, or the lack of, or the alleviate the suffering of individuals. And so that is a sad thing, that we will play politics with individuals' lives in different capacity. And to speak to something that Tim said just a few minutes ago, and just to emphasize and re-emphasize, when your kids has nothing to eat, or you got to choose between getting a meal for the night or for the rest of the week and paying your rent, those decisions are life-altering decisions. So for politics and individuals who are in those positions as legislative positions, who are probably not feeling the economic effects of this pandemic as hard as individuals in the marginalized communities, black communities, to play politic games while these individuals are suffering is completely unacceptable. And so politics has been at the forefront of the whole COVID movement and the suffering thereof, and the reopening movement. We know individuals might have their different opinions on either sides, but the people has to be put first.